Motherhood is not an obstacle to worship. It can be one of the greatest pathways toward it. And so when you live with this awareness, every diaper change, every meal, every bedtime becomes an act of devotion. And that's the beauty of being a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Muslim mothers, it can feel like we're pulled in 1,000 different directions between children, marriage, household responsibilities, and sometimes work outside of the home. In the middle of all of this, sometimes worship can feel heavy and like just one more thing on our to-do list. But as we navigate all of the different roles that we have in our lives, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us clearly of our primary role. He tells us, "And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me." So no matter how many roles we juggle, our first and greatest purpose and our first and greatest role is as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we prioritize that role, everything else falls into place with so much more barakah, so much more blessings in our lives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also warns us in the Quran where He says, "O believers," and He's talking to us here, where He says that indeed some of your spouses and children are enemies to you, so beware of them. And so you might hear this verse and you think to yourself, how can the people that I love so deeply, some of the people I love most in the world, how could they possibly be my enemies? And so how can that happen it's through us. It's what we do. If we give them precedence over our true core identity as servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are getting in the way of our primary purpose. And that's not the path that we want to lead for ourselves or for our families. We want to model for our children through our actions, our primary role as servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so our children and our families can be both a blessing and a test. The question is, will they pull us away from Allah, or will we strive alongside them as we draw closer to Him? Here are a few things to consider as mothers striving to increase our own and our children's closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing I want to mention, and the reason I'm mentioning this point is because of mom guilt, and every mom I know struggles with mom guilt. So the first point is to focus on the now. As mothers, we often live with guilt, what we didn't do yesterday, what we should have done better, right? But every moment is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a new chance to turn back to Him. And when I first became a mom, I remember some of the hardships that came with that, both emotionally, as any new mom would experience, but also even from an ibadah perspective, a worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perspective. I remember the switch between night and day that happened to my salah, my prayers, and the difficulty that came with focusing on that and the guilt that I felt as I was trying to navigate that. But the Prophet ﷺ taught us, if anything befalls you, don't say, if only I had done such and such. Don't say the word law, if. Don't say, if only I had done such and such, but instead say, qadar Allah wa ma sha'a fa'al, that Allah has decreed whatever He wills, and Allah has decreed it, and whatever He wills, He does. Because when you use the word law, when you use the word if, it opens the door for shaitan. And so shaitan loves to play with our minds as we go through this. So instead of dwelling on the fact that maybe you missed your Quran reading yesterday, or the last week, the difficulty that you had in focusing on salah, ask yourself, what can I do now? What can I do now? Can I make dhikr while I'm folding laundry? Can I pray 2 rak'ahs during nap time? Every new moment is a new opportunity. And so as a new mom, I remember talking to my Quran teacher about my difficulty with focusing in salah. And she said, that's the time that you put your baby in a safe place, whether it's the high chair, whether it's in their crib, and you do your salah. It's your primary role and you can do it. And it was very helpful to think of a practical solution to allow me to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that I wanted. The second point is to prioritize what is beneficial for you. What does that mean? The Prophet ﷺ said, strive for that which will benefit you, seek the help of Allah, and do not feel helpless. And so this hadith gives us a framework. This idea where he says, ihras ala ma yanfa'uk, that to focus on what benefits you. Focus on what truly benefits you and your family. Let go of the impossible standards that weigh you down. And he said, seek the help of Allah. Worship is not accomplished through willpower alone. Every act of worship happens because Allah opens that door for us. So turn to Him. If you're feeling distant, turn to Him and you're going to be brought closer. And then the Rasul ﷺ encourages us, do not feel helpless. Like I said, every new moment is a new chance. Even if you don't do it perfectly, do it partially. Still show up. because that all or nothing thinking really makes us feel stuck. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves consistency, not perfection. The Prophet ﷺ said that the most beloved deeds to Allah are the ones who are performed consistently, even if they're small. So even if you can't do everything, do something. Something is always better than nothing. And allow that to repeat in your mind. Something is always better than nothing. Even if you're just reading a few lines of Quran, you can earn thousands of hasanat, thousands of good deeds through that. The third point is to be intentional. Not every path to Jannah looks the same. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us with different personalities, with different circumstances, with different strengths. And so we have these different personalities and these different circumstances. And because they're unique, our paths are unique as well. So reconsider your daily life. Look at your daily life and think about how you can transform certain parts of your day with intentionality. Everything can be turned into an act of worship if we're intentional about it. So ask yourself, what are some of the ways that you can shift your intentions for things that you already have to do each day to allow them to be a form of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The Prophet ﷺ highlighted this when he said, do not belittle any good deed, even if it's meeting your brother with a cheerful face. That means that everyday actions that you already do, smiling at your child, cooking a meal for your family, taking a deep breath when your child does something frustrating, all of these can be acts of worship if you intend them for the sake of Allah. So look at your daily routine. Where can you insert these acts of worship into your day-to-day life? Maybe when you're on school runs, picking up or dropping off your kids, that can be a time to listen to Quran. Or maybe a phone call with your mother can become intentionally an act of maintaining ties of kinship. Maybe during your difficult moments, could those become reminders to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making dua or with gratitude? With intentionality, everything can become an act of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then next, this is one of my favorite tips, and I think it's so important for moms, is building habits into your everyday life. Because willpower fades, but habits really last. So attaching worship to things that you already do. So for example, when you're doing the dishes, which is never ending for moms, make dhikr. And once you start to consistently associate doing the dishes with dhikr, as soon as that water opens at the sink, as soon as your hand touches one of those dishes, your tongue will go because it becomes a habit. Playing Quran, listening to Quran as you cook, as you drive, using moments of stress to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of these different things, when you are already doing something, attach a habit onto it and realize that every moment is an opportunity to shift away from the monotony of daily life and to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remember your purpose as a servant. And so my sisters who are navigating motherhood, trying to be worshipers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for worship. It's our primary and ultimate role. Don't allow your family life to distract you from Allah. Instead, allow it to be a means of drawing closer to Him. Focus on the present moment and what you can do now, not regrets about the past. Prioritize what truly benefits you and know that you're doing all that benefits you with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be intentional and transform your everyday actions into forms of worship and build habits that keep your heart connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the daily tasks that you're already doing. Motherhood is not an obstacle to worship. It can be one of the greatest pathways toward it. And so when you live with this awareness, every diaper change, every meal, every bedtime becomes an act of devotion. And that's the beauty of being a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.